So here we are starting, we're between the studio and my back stairs heading into the Secret Cottage Garden. I've been working out here. This is not even ready, viewer ready, but I wanted to get a record of it at the beginning of June before the sun comes up. So you can see over here where I've been using this garden fork to spread this is gorilla hair, monkey hair, as some people call it, into some paths, etc. around the garden. It will be gone from here. I will spread some right here because I'm not sure what I'm going to do exactly in this area, and it will prevent weeds. But down here, this is my kind of plants to waiting to be planted. These are my 2 Coco Loco roses. I got these from Heirloom Roses. I need to planted them into bigger pots or into the ground. I just love their coloration. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put them, but so here I started to put some impatiens in here. They have been struggling. So last year this filled up so beautifully. So we'll see. It could have been transplant shock, who knows, but I'm hoping they fill in. I like one solid color. In the middle is a primrose that was struggling and needed to be planted, but I don't know if it's going to make it either. But look at that hosta. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, I didn't know that there's also a little hosta there, and it's just coming up. Now, the gophers were really bad in this area, so they might have disrupted things and caused issues. This is Blue Star Creeper. That is a beautiful ground cover, has little flowers on it, and it is good in part sun, part shade. So, now, as you can see, the flagstones that we've been adding, I've been trying to get, this is elfin thyme, things like that planted between so it chokes out the weeds, but you can see this one really needs to be weeded. This is my David Austin Sharifa Osma rose, and it's done beautifully right here in the pot. It gets a lot of sun, but then some afternoon shade. So I wanted to get it in the ground here so it can continue to grow, but I have to use the gopher cages. This is another Nepeta. I do not know. I showed you my Rose Alley, my cat's pajamas Nepeta. I'm not sure what this one is. I can't, I don't know if this is one that I started from seed because I put a little bit of both in here. The seedlings from ones I grew from seed and some divisions off of another one a friend gave me. So I'm not sure. I didn't mark them. But let's step back. You can see how I'm improvising because I didn't have enough gopher cages. But see, this is echinacea, and I have it in the pot in the ground so that they will not eat it. Now, despite them eating all the oriental poppies last year, here's one that's come back. Ignore the brown. That is irrigation pipe I pulled out of another area, and I'm going to see how I can fit it in here. So that's just a work in progress. And you may wonder, why do I show you a garden tour when things are still not complete? Well, my friends, nothing is ever complete. This is my relaxation, gardening and moving things, it's just something I enjoy. But also I've had to redo things because of the gophers. I had roses in here and they almost killed them. I had to dig them up. I'm just now acquiring the gopher cages and trying them, so I will put some back in here. And I learned last year that they will eat the echinacea. So I will plant echinaceas. I have other smaller gopher cages. I have the large ones for the roses, smaller ones for the smaller plants. And even the lilies. Look at the lilies I've put in pots because they were eating them. So also this fall, when I get tulips, and I will do some tulips. We have such weird springs with late snows that tulips are not always a good thing because you just don't get to enjoy them. Well, here is I think this is Blue Muffin. This is a viburnum. Let me see. I think it's a viburnum. Pretty sure. Yes. And look at all the flowers on it. Gorgeous. I will prune it up. I will make sure it's more of a tree form. But I wanted it to but get tall enough to block the view to the back. Now, as you can see back there, my neighbor's roof. Let me get you over here so you can see it more. This house sold recently, and they are redoing this entire house, which it will be beautiful. They tore off the roof and they're going to put a black matte metal roof, which will be perfect. Before, the shiny metal would glare into my camera, but the black matte, it won't be a problem. So this is going to be great for my videos during the day when the sun is shining. Down here, look at this, is woolly thyme. There are 2 stepping stones there going to, this is my tool shed, which I don't use very much. I should. It looks like it's crooked. It could be the gophers undermined an area. I know a lot of my pavers over here, let me turn back around. These used to be flat, and I don't know if it come through on the camera, but they are not flat anymore, and that's from the gophers, where they move them when they dig around them, under them, etc. And so it's a continual battle process to kind of keep them level. So once I get all of them filled in with the ground cover, I'm sure it won't be noticeable. There's my little solar fountain. It's just spritzing right now. Need to refill that. Check for mosquitoes. I do use the mosquito bits, but one allium, I had all alliums all through this garden, and the gophers ate them. They love them. That's another thing. If I want more, I'm going to have to plant them in cages. But over here is a dahlia. Dahlias are also something they love to eat, so I plant them in these larger size pots that I might have bought other plants in, and I just sink the pot in the ground. This one's here waiting to get planted over here behind the bench. I've got to move my pavers that the bench sits on because it's at a wonky angle. But look at this iris. Isn't this beautiful? I love, it's not even completely furled open, but the color, it's probably getting blown out here because the sun's starting to shine on it, but it is so beautiful. And look at this rose behind. This is my David Austin, Princess Alexandra of Kent. Is that coming into bloom? That's not what I meant to say, into focus. Anyways, so it's doing beautiful here. This one had been in the ground, and it was one of them the gopher started to eat. So it likes it right here. So I may plant it back here somewhere in a gopher cage so that it can continue to grow in the ground. Here are my Bobo hydrangeas that I transferred from the front garden back here. They were not doing well up there. And for the longest time, they didn't leaf out, and I thought I killed them, but I can see leaf now. I got the idea for planting them this close and in a grouping like this from Aaron over at the Impatient Gardener. So I'm thinking they'll do really well back here. They get a lot more sun, so they will thrive. I am hoping, and so far the gophers have not bothered them. They are not planted in gopher cages. Another allium that they left for me. Look at this beautiful white one. It makes me want to make sure I plant more for next year and just protect them. Some foxgloves are starting to come up, which is wonderful. They reseed, and the gophers do leave them alone. So I let them come up in areas where they love it. Larkspur, this is free seeds itself. I did transplant some that grew up in the pathway, and people say you can't do that, but I do it all the time. I just make sure I dig deep under it while it's still small so the taproot isn't disturbed. And these are coming up through the bench, which I kind of like the look, so I'm leaving it for now. And when I have to deadhead them, I'll cut them way back and then move the bench a bit. Here, my silene. This is also called red campion, a beautiful early bloomer for me. This will go to seed and spread somewhat. I haven't had it become a bully or an issue, so I'm not too worried about it, but I do deadhead. It will rebloom when I deadhead. So here is my Phyllis hardy geranium that I showed you over in the side garden, or the rose alley, and it wasn't blooming yet, but it gets more sun here. So it's blooming sooner. Look at that beautiful color, that fuchsia. This one also I have not yet supported, which I will get a support. I'll probably share that in a video, how I make small supports for these so that they, instead of flopping, they become like a little bush. So right down here is my petite pink called Cara Lee from Proven Winners. This is a Gara, which I have another one over in the prior bed with the echinaceas that got eaten, and it's not coming back. I don't know why. It may have been bothered by the gophers, but thankfully this one's coming back. I loved the other one so much I bought another to put over here because it does beautiful all summer long. Other Garas I've not liked. They seemed weedy to me. But these petite pink Cara Lee by Proven Winners, they don't. They stay small, bushy, and just bloom and bloom and bloom. So here is my Orion hardy geranium. I moved this from the side garden because it just wasn't doing well. And look, it has just taken off. And it's filled with buds. So I'm thinking it likes being moved here. So that is a clue. If something is not thriving in an area of your garden, move it to another. Try to ascertain what it may not like. It may not have liked the more shade it got over there. I don't know, but it's doing great right here. So back here, this is a vintage iris that is very heavily scented and gorgeous. But back there you can see I've got, that's my purple Rusta Monarda coming up. That blooms a little bit later in the season. I have a Dusky Maiden's Delphinium back here. I got that at Annie's Annuals because all the seedlings I started didn't make it. But when I spotted it there, I thought, okay, I'm going to buy one because I want it. And it's doing great. And then I can save seeds from it. So here is my climbing roses that are going up over this arbor. This is my iceberg, white iceberg. And then the rose in front here, this one is, I think, Portlandia from Heirloom Roses. It's one of their varieties that they have bred and sell. And it's a beautiful, beautiful color. And I don't know if it's a climber. I just stuck it there because the pot that the burgundy iceberg, I'm not burgundy, but white iceberg is not a pretty pot. So I was kind of disguising it. I had the rose in a pot because of the gophers again. So it is full of buds, though I do notice some, I've got these needle-nosed beetles that like to pierce the buds and they ruin the flowers, and I spotted some this morning and I could see the damage. So I'm gonna have to come in and deadhead many of those off. So down here, my Aglaia daisies. They're coming. Those are the real fluffy. I have the friend who gave them to me called them Shaggy Maggie because they're just so shaggy. But this is the moss heart on the other side that I started with. It's not doing well, so I need to redo it. But this one is, even though you can't really see the heart shape because the gophers dug under it and killed some areas. But is this Scotch moss? Scotch moss is doing very well. And I like that chartreuse color. So even if it's not in the heart shape right now, it is a beautiful ground cover underneath this bench. Now I have another little solar fountain in this container, which I like, and I planted. Oh, there's one of my ivy geraniums I started from seed this last winter. Look at that. It's starting to bloom. I didn't know it was red. I didn't know that it was a mix, so I don't know what the colors will be. But I put it in. Here's some of the wave petunias I started from seed. I plopped those in there, and the ivy geranium. I should get some of the alyssum that grew from seed and pop in there. Or I could just scatter some of the seeds and they'll continue to grow. This is another holding spot for some plants. Here's some tomatoes that I need to get in the ground or given away. Look at this iris. Isn't this gorgeous coming up through my Colette rose? Oh, I'll show you the damage. Here is the damage. Can you see that on that bud? Can you see that? That is from those needle-nosed beetles. So I need to go along and see. I was collecting them yesterday. What I do is I get a cup of soapy water and I knock them off into it. But I can see they've damaged some of these. And I was trying so hard to keep track, because I know they hatch right when it gets warm and they start eating on the roses. So I was trying to make sure, and even though I was trying to be diligent, they just, once they hatched, they really went to town on my roses. But this Colette rose is so gorgeous. I saw this first, I think it was over on Garden Answer. They have this rose, Laura does, and I just loved it. So when I spotted it, I picked it up. And this is the first year, I mean, well, it's done well. It's really doing well this year, and I think it's because of all the snow and moisture and rain we got this winter. I planted my rosemary topiaries in the ground because the gophers won't eat rosemary supposedly, so we're testing that out. And they were root bound, so they needed, and rather than potting them up, I just put them there. So I planted some more of my petunias. They're just getting started here. And there used to be, my pagan purple delphiniums were here. and they were big and huge and beautiful, and I think the gophers ate them. So I now have my lemony lace. You can see it back there. That is elderberry, lemony lace elderberry. And you can see the dahlias I have in here. I don't have my irrigation set up in here yet, so I got to bring a sprinkler over here and let it water this area. That's my goal this summer, getting my irrigation set up back here. Last summer, it was the front garden. I intended to do the back garden too. I just haven't gotten there yet. It amazes me how tedious and time-consuming it is, but it's well worth it, and it works well with the pulse watering. Another one of my red campions, since they did so beautiful here and the gophers left them alone, I planted another. I divided from the one we showed previously. Here's my Crimson Queen Japanese maple, doing beautiful. Love it. I have tons of Japanese maples. I just have them in pots, and I thought, I need to get them in the ground. And here are some more lilies. I think these are Asiatic lilies. And more dahlias down there in their pots. Things I'm getting put in. This is another Nepeta. This is Cat's Meow. And that's another Proven Winners selection. And it gets a little bit bigger than the Cat's Pajamas. So I was thinking of putting it in this bed. And here's one of the roses. I sunk the pot into the soil. The roots will go down through the bottom, but the gophers cannot decimate the rose, because what's up in the pot is still protected. So even if they ate the roots that went down below. Okay, here's another iris. Isn't this gorgeous? This one's a little bluer than the previous one, which was more lavender. So that one is doing well. Now, we got 9+ feet this winter, and at any given time we had 6 feet on the ground. So they were hungry. So here's my Bill Wallace hardy geranium, and I just love it. It has the most ephemeral little flowers. I don't know if it's focusing for you, but I just love it. And it does spread from seed, and I dig it up and I transplant it elsewhere. So this is my Junior's Walkerlow Junior Nepeta, and that's the hardy geranium going through there. But so that's like the Cat's Pajamas as far as being shorter, and I'll see how that fares here. And I was thinking of getting more of it too. If you find something that works really well, utilize it in a lot of areas. So there's another Japanese maple over there, and that's that same lamium underneath it. And I keep that in check too. I just shear it back with little garden shears. Here's a lavender. I was trying to think of where I wanted to put it. I may put it along the back fence, but right now it's doing good there, so I'm just debating. I'm trying not to rush things and then regret it and then have to move them later. But I really pruned back the roses that normally are just covering this back fence. And they're coming back. I need to train the canes horizontally now, again, along here. This kind of just hides all the junk that's underneath our back deck. It's kind of a storage area. But it does a good job, the lattice does. So that, my friends, really is it. I think we've covered the entire Secret Cottage Garden. You can see my poor dilapidated little greenhouse over there. We still got to do the repairs on it. And the area next to it, that greenhouse, I call it my greenhouse garden, but right now it's just stacked with things as well. So, and we will come back and I will share with you my update on my little DIY greenhouse that you see right there behind this arbor. So I hope you enjoyed the coverage of the Secret Cottage Garden here at the beginning of June and all that it is showing at this time of year. I know it'll change dramatically even within a couple weeks, so we'll see if I do another tour then. I love doing these for my own garden journal. Whether or not I always post them on YouTube is another matter, but enjoy your garden and give up on perfection. Just enjoy the process. One last thing on this garden tour, I wanted to share with you something that has been a game changer for me in my garden, and that's this Hose Link retractable hose. This one is the 82-foot one. It is mounted here on the side of my studio, and I can pull it all the way across here. I use the power nozzle on it to spray down, like the boxwoods get spider mites really bad, and so I spray them down probably every day. That keeps the spider mites knocked down. And I can pull it all the way over to my greenhouse, and because it is mounted, let me turn around here. This is my Secret Cottage Garden again. It is mounted so high on the studio. When I pull it across, I don't damage any plants by pulling them through it or knocking any plants over. Sorry for the backlight, the sun's coming over. But also because of where it is mounted, I can pull it up through the rose alley. So it is super easy to do. I can go up and spray things down that need it, fill up my little fountain that's up there in the pot, and etc. So it has really been something I have found to be of well worth the cost. I don't remember what I paid for it, but they are not compensating me for this at all. I just wanted you to know something that could make your gardening life a little bit easier, and that's this Hose Link.